We all want to write faster and better stories. Anyone who does writing and is attempting to write a novel or a story, always, we want to write them faster, we want to write them better, and we want to write them more concise. In this video, I'm going to show you and talk to you about what I think is a secret weapon of writers that maybe not enough writers are doing, and why I think this is super important, and it's timed writing blocks. If you've been here on the channel before, you've heard me talk about these, but in this video I want to really break down a couple of reasons why I think that this is the best tool for writers and why they should be using it, and why how not using it is maybe actually hindering your process. So first off, let's talk about what a timed writing block is. Essentially, it's exactly what it sounds like. You set an amount of time, whether it's a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes, however long it is, you put aside all the distractions, you put aside everything, you grab whatever you're writing with, whether it's a computer or your notebook or whatever. I'm a big fan of notebooks, as you've heard on the channel before. You set a timer for the amount of time you're going to write, and you just write continuously as much as you can in that time frame. You don't worry about the amount of words you're writing, you don't worry about how many chapters or anything. You simply just write as much as you can in that amount of time. That's all it is. And then once it's done, you just stop. You just be done. Unless, obviously, if you're in a good flow and you have more time, keep writing. But if you have a limited amount of time, this is a great way to be like, I'm going to write for half an hour, write for that half an hour, and then be done. And then at the end of the day, you'll know that you've accomplished your writing. The reason why I think that timed writing blocks are better than just setting a word count goal is a couple of reasons, and a lot of them I think are more psychological. What I've found for me is if I set a writing count, a word count goal for the day, whether I say I'm going to write 1,000 words or 2,000 or 500 or whatever it is, depending on the day, I may not have the creativity to do that. And so I may not be in the right headspace. I may not know exactly where I'm going in the story. I might be struggling with a character. And so getting 1,000 words out in a day could be really hard. Other days, I could write 1,000 words. I could write 3,000 words super fast, easy, no thinking about it. It just flows right out of me and I can just put those words down, no problem. The reason I think that while having a word count goal can be good to make sure that you're hitting the progress that you want to be hitting, like you want to write 20,000 words in the next however long, ultimately what I think happens is it leads to more stress and anxiety about getting your writing done. Because no matter what you do, if you don't hit that 1,000 words, if you don't hit the writing word count goal, then you feel like you didn't accomplish your writing, even though you wrote that day, even though you actually did it, even if you got 800, even if you got 950 words, if you didn't get that last 50, you're going to feel like a failure. So what I believe is that by doing a timed writing block, if you hit the half an hour, you accomplished the goal. Now, whether you wrote 250 words or 20 words or 1,000 words, doesn't matter. You accomplished the goal, which therefore gives you more motivation to keep going because you actually accomplished the goal for the day. The other thing that happens is ultimately, I think it leads to being able to actually write more, because if all you're worrying about is you just got the timer set and you go write in that time frame, I think you'll end up writing more. It's easier for me to get into a flow because I'm not so worried about the word count. I'm not thinking about, oh, am I getting enough words in? Am I getting enough? Am I getting enough? No, you just write. And what I've found in my own writing is I actually end up writing more words in my timed writing block than I actually write if I set a word count goal. It's very similar to the law that I don't remember what the name of it is, but basically where, the amount of time that you set for a task or the amount of time that you give yourself for a project, the project fills up to fit that amount of time. For me, I feel like if you set a word count goal and you say, I'm going to write this today, or I'm going to write this in an hour, it fills up that amount of time, that however much time you said it was going to take you, it fills up that amount of time. By just having a timed goal, you can write as many words as you want in that amount of time, and it's kind of a switch on the psychological workings, I think, of writing your story and using your writing time wisely. It's pretty easy to set up for a timed writing block. Essentially, all that you do, the setup for it, is have something that you can have a timer on. I like to use my watch or my phone, as long as I can keep my phone away from me or turn off the notifications or something so that I do not pick it up and look at it. Or you can use a kitchen timer or any kind of timer really, but set a timer, put away all the other devices and all the other distractions, find yourself a room or a chair or somewhere where you can get away from everything going on. So whether that's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, set that timer, put away all the distractions, get your writing device, whether it's a notebook or computer, and then you turn on the timer and you write. It's really that simple. It's not that hard. It's more, the hardest part of doing the timed writing block is getting rid of the distractions and setting aside all the things that can distract you from the actual writing. And finally, when the question of when should you write comes up, I say write when you can. Now, there's a couple caveats to this. We do know that depending on what part of the day it is and what kind of person you are, people can be more creative at different times of the day. So for me, I am way more creative and way more motivated to be creative in the morning right when I get up. And I think a lot of people are that way, although I'm not going to go so far as to do it all. Everyone does and say you should have a morning routine because people are different and there are night owls and all that kind of stuff. So when you should write is very personal to you. So there's two answers. The first answer is write when you can. The goal is to write if you can only do that over lunch, or if you can only do it in the afternoon, or you can only do it in the morning, that's when you need to write. If you want to supercharge your results and supercharge the amount of writing that you can get done and be even less stressful, write during those peak times. So for me, what I'm working on this year and trying to do is wake up in the morning, make a cup of coffee, sit down and write. Generally, that's around somewhere between 5 and 6 a.m. And that's just when I naturally wake up anyways, and when I need to get up. And so if I just make my coffee, sit down and write, my brain is super primed to just jump right into it and be the most creative. And I generally get more words down during that time. I also do pretty well if I write at night before I go to bed, after everyone else. Depends on, if it's been how long of a day it's been, or how much has been going on, or how many things that I've been doing that day, how busy it was. Depends on my energy level, but sometimes I can get into a good spot where my energy level is kind of low, but my brain is still active enough that I can actually get some good writing done. Again, depends on who you are, depends on your situation and how you have your schedule and all those kinds of things. But when you write you should write when you can. And if you can put it in one of those hyper creative times, it's just going to supercharge what you're going to be able to do. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned something. Let me know down in the comments below if you've tried this, or if you have any ideas or suggestions, or if you tried this and you think it doesn't work at all and you'd rather do a word count goal. All those things, let me know. I'd love to chat and hear what you have to say. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Writing Quest. Huzzah!